our male
Peter.
Brad Pitt.
Tegan.
I know it's a funny name, but he is a very blonde, pretty.
This is at the 1 o'clock
sloth.
base camp
He's one of the
presentation.
most
Zoo Guy
attractive
Ryan.
sloths I've ever seen. But anyways, this is Estrella. She is a Linnaeus two-toed sloth, and yeah, they don't really move too fast. They can, but it requires a bit of motivation. So in other words, Tegan's got some very fun items for her. They always get a diet, but then they also get a treat cup. So she's got a little bit of egg in there, probably some yams and different types of vegetables. And we also use a man-made gel that we feed these guys just to kind of figure out their whole entire diet. Now, Linnaeus two-toed sloths, if as she makes her way out, I want you to take a look at her front feet and her back feet. So all sloths have actually 3 toes on their rear feet, but she's only got 2 claws on the front on both sides. Now, if you look up here behind me on the wall over here, that's a 3-toed sloth. The 3-toed sloth is also in the movie Zootopia at the DMV. That's a 3-toed sloth. So, right. So yeah, you're almost looking at top speed right there. Now, there is a reason why they move so slow. Okay, there's actually multiple reasons why they move so slow. They have a very slow metabolism. Okay. And their diet consists of mostly leaves and vegetation. They get very little protein in their diet.
Loosening it for
very
her.
little. Now, anyone with kids knows that you need to give your child some form of protein. Everybody needs some form of protein because that's where we get most of our energy. We eat 3 times a day. Now, for a sloth, she does get a little bit of protein. They would eat eggs if they came across them in the wild. So actually, Tegan does have a bit of egg for them as well. And another thing as well, they move so slowly in South America that, and it's much wetter and humid in South America. You may not believe it now, but it is. And they actually will start to grow an algae on them. So they actually start to have a greenish tint to them. Now, if you look at Estrella, she is a bit green, but that's a different reason. Okay, we'll cover that.
It's a Zena's sister.
So down in South America, they will actually end up with like a moss or an algae that's on them. And there's a moth that lives inside that algae and eats the algae, okay? It's called the sloth moth. And sloths do groom themselves, so when they're grooming themselves and scratching themselves, they will intake some of those insects as well. And then when she goes down to the bathroom, they always go to the base of a tree to go to the bathroom. That's when those moths would come down, they'd lay the eggs in their feces, and then whenever those things hatch, they'd fly back up and right back into the same sloth, most likely. Now, the reason why she is green is because she is currently living with Brad Pitt, the male.
Green dye.
And so they're all, sharing food, eating food together. And we're doing hormone studies with Estrella. So we need to do fecal samples. And the only way we can really tell their fecal from apart from each other is if we add a little bit of green dye to hers. Okay? And they're very messy eaters, and so that's why she's kind of got a green dye on her chest and her backside and everywhere else. And but what's curious about that, I mentioned slow metabolism. When we give them the dye, it takes about a month for it to actually start to show up, okay? If we ate that dye, it'd show up later that night, okay? So the food that she's being fed right now, it's going to take about a month to go through her system. Now, that doesn't mean she's going to the bathroom once a month. She actually is on a pretty good routine of about once a week, okay? They'll come down to the base of the tree, and they'll do all of their business down at the base of the tree, and it's like small little pellets, okay? Us keepers equate everything to food, unfortunately, and it's like black licorice, a whole bunch of black licorice. Probably safe to say here, because I don't think many people like black licorice. But anyways.
I used to.
There's a couple different theories as to why they do it at the base of the tree. These guys are an arboreal species, and they're going to be high up in the trees in South America, and they do have predators, okay? Jaguars, ocelots, harpy eagles. And by doing their business down low, it's in a nice small pile, okay? If they did it up, 50, 60 feet up off the ground, it's going to be kind of scattered all over the place. And so when that predator walks through that area, they're going to pick up on the fact that there's an animal above them. That's another reason why they move slow, too, because a lot of predators actually cue off of movement as well. So by moving very slow, sleeping up to about 20 hours a day, those other 4 hours are not spent awake all at once, but they'll, 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there
Patrick.
through the evening, going through the
Patrick.
trees and foraging and looking for food. Now, what's really cool about sloths is, so I don't work with Estrella so much, but I do work with Xena, our other female, and Xena has had 3 babies here on grounds, and we have learned so much in that process. There's actually not a lot known about sloth birthing. If you were to Google gestation period, the numbers might be updated a bit better nowadays, but Google will probably just tell you anywhere between 8 to 12 months. That's not really accurate, right? It's not a lot of information. And we have found that, well, we knew 2 of Xena's babies. The first one was kind of an accident. She was basically living with Brad Pitt as well. So that's a little risque. But yeah, the keepers just came in one day and there was a baby. So we didn't have any idea as to how long that gestation period was. And so the next time around, we did intros. They did not live together. We did intros together. We had cameras set up. We were able to review footage. And we were able to figure out the gestation period, at least for Xena, it might differ for her, is around 10 months, okay? And when that baby comes out, mom is in this position, baby comes out right onto the belly, ready to go. They're actually pretty well developed. They already have teeth. They're eating solid foods within a week, also nursing as well. And I had mentioned earlier that these guys are pretty sloppy eaters, so the baby actually has a lot of access to food on mom's chest almost immediately. And they're pretty interesting looking animals. Their bodies are pretty small, but their arms are really, really long because they've got to be able to reach around and hold on to mom. And those claws on a baby are really, really, really sharp, okay? And they kind of just grow into those arms eventually. Really, really cool. Now, babies are extremely soft, while mom is a bit more coarse. If you can imagine down in South America with a lot of rain, if you actually look at a lot of different South American animals like our tamandua and sloths and a lot of different ones, they have kind of like a coarse hair. I would probably equate it to German Shepherd. Okay, if you've ever pet a German Shepherd, that's going to be what it feels like. And the nice thing about that is when they're hanging in their trees and it's raining, it acts like a rain jacket. That water is just going to run right off of them. Now, also interesting about her is mammals' hair, like if you look at a cow, whatever, a horse, the hair actually is coming from their back and down, and her hair is actually growing from the belly and down. Once again, it's for the rain, okay? The other way around is just going to soak up water. Look at her face. All of that hair is growing differently, right? It's the same thing. So when she's getting rained on, all of that water is just going to run right off. It's really cool. Now they do pretty much everything upside down. They will eat, they will mate, they will give birth, they will do everything upside down. They do go to the ground occasionally, and what most people don't know is trees are actually pretty intelligent, smart, and if an animal is in a specific tree for too long of a time, the composition of those leaves will actually change, and the taste will change, and it usually forces these guys into another tree. So what they'll do is they'll go down to the ground, or if it's flooded, if the area is flooded, these guys can swim really well. They'll drop into the water, and they'll swim or crawl. They do not walk. They cannot get up on all four feet. They crawl to another tree, okay? Now, I got a question for you guys. How much do you think she weighs?
30 pounds.
I got 30. Anyone else? I know you've listened to our talks before. It's not a lot. Okay, she's only about 25% muscle mass. She's only about 12 pounds. 12, 13, 14 pounds. 15 pounds if they're pregnant, all right? Maybe 16. But their muscle mass is, their muscle is essentially just where it needs to be, okay? She cannot do a push-up, but she can hang upside down in a pull-up position her entire life, okay? So all of her muscles are where they need to be, and that's one of the reasons why if they go to the ground, they crawl on the ground as opposed to, they don't have the muscles to actually stand upright and walk anywhere. So when they do come to the ground, that's kind of when they're going to be a little bit more susceptible to predation, jaguars, ocelots, and so on. Now I've been going on for a bit. Does anybody have any questions Why does she have big claws? Well, she's got a couple good reasons for those. Probably one of the biggest reasons is for climbing around, okay? When you're relaxed, your hands are open. When she's relaxed, they're constantly in a curved position. So she has to exert almost no effort at all to hang on to a branch. So much so that when they die of old age in the wild, they're typically found in the trees still. So, and then they can use those claws as a defense as well. They're very strong. Like I said, that 25% muscle mass is kind of where it needs to be, and it's for grabbing. And the last thing you want is an angry sloth grabbing onto you, because they've got 4 equally strong limbs. It's really hard to peel off. I'd imagine if she grabbed onto a predator, it would probably spook them a little bit. But they also have some really large teeth. If Tegan gives Estrella kind of a large piece of food, you'll see those teeth. 4 giant canines. They have a lot of bacteria in the mouth. Sloth bites, I've heard, are one of the worst bites out there. You get an infection, you can lose arms, limbs, and all sorts of stuff. So they're not defenseless, okay? Any other questions? Let me go over here. What's your question, sir?
Since they don't move a lot, do they have to eat a lot?
They do not. I mean, they get a diet every day, and they eat a fair bit every day. It's nutritionally, it's kind of low in value. It's all veg, essentially, vegetables and stuff, leaves. They eat a fair bit, but it's not as much as you would think.
So I've heard they have constantly growing teeth. Is that all their teeth or only certain ones?
I don't. That's something I haven't heard. Do you know?
I haven't heard that their teeth always grow.
Yeah, because if they break a tooth, it'll continue to grow and it'll grow out, and they rub on each other.
You're not. Oh, I haven't heard that. I'll have to look it up. I mean, I know our porcupines do.
Right. Well, yeah, they're rodents, but that's why it was unique, a sloth thing.
Oh, I'll have to look that up. Any other questions? Estrella is about 9 years old. Okay. Her sister Xena is about 14. And in the wild, they're going to live to about 10 to 15 years of age. But I think the oldest sloth in this type of environment is about 25 years old. So they can live quite a long time in managed care. Well, it looks like Estrella is on her way out of here. So I'll go off mic here, and if you guys have any other questions, you feel free to walk on.
And there she goes.
I want to thank you guys for joining us here at the park. Just coming in through those front gates, buying your tickets, food today, anything that you've purchased today, all of those proceeds go back into our organization to allow us to do things like this, but also all over the globe. I want to thank you guys again. Make sure you check out our 2 o'clock Lego 4th Bowl show, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you. San Diego Zoo. Basecamp, 1 o'clock show.
Well, not her.
Bye, guys.